Hey, have you ever wondered why the US public school system doesn't teach really useful things that we use in everyday life? I've made a list of some stuff here, like personal finance. They do teach personal finance, but it's usually literally the school pays another company that has created curriculum to bring that personal finance curriculum into the school. Of course, making that company rich because the school can just afford whatever that company will charge instead of coming up with their own curriculum. Another thing that I thought was interesting that the school doesn't teach is stuff like health insurance, which I'm paying like $1,600 a month, like every month right now, like $18,000 a year of health insurance. And I'm not educated on what it is, how it works, the specifics of it. Like I'm not being I would rather learn that than some of the other stuff that I've learned in school. Another thing is like lawsuit stuff, like going to court, jury duty. Like jury duty, if you get a letter in the mail that says you got to go to jury duty, like if you don't go, it's not good. Like you'll get in trouble. And I'm really surprised that they don't just talk more about like the expectations of what happens when you go to jury duty. Like that should be something that should be taught in school before you graduate. Another thing is like just owning things. So like they don't teach you how to like fill out a title or like how to do a house deed. Like I purchased a house a couple years ago, and if I had to do it again, like I've already forgotten all the complexity of what needs to happen for you to purchase a house. Usually you hire someone that helps you because it's so complicated. They're called a realtor that helps you through that process. Another big thing is taxes. Why don't they teach you anything about taxes? There's all kinds of things that I've learned throughout the years that if I just told myself when I was 18, hey, this is a tax trick, I could have saved thousands of dollars. In fact, I'm at a point in my career now I could have saved probably tens of thousands of dollars, if not almost $100,000, just from little tax tricks that I've learned in the past that school did not teach me. In fact, they don't even teach you how taxes work unless you take an accounting class. But that's because you have kind of chosen a career to become an accountant that specializes in that. But for the general person, I think most general people should know kind of how taxes work and how withholding works and stuff like that. But they don't teach you that. And so I was doing some research on how the public school system came about, and it's actually very surprising. So before the 1700s, most countries didn't really have a school system. So even first, I don't know if you'd call them first world countries, big countries, they didn't really have a schooling system. They'd have some kind of expertise thing like college for people that could get there and wanted to specialize in something. But before the 1700s, the education system was learning from your parent that was specialized in something. So when someone is like a blacksmith, if you are the son of a blacksmith, someone who does like blacksmith work, that's usually why the last name, like your name would be Smith, blacksmith. And you learn from your parents or from other community members. It wasn't a school setting. So anyways, I'm kind of rambling. In 1717, King William I of Prussia, so this is the 1700s, created something that was basically, it kind of is like the school system, but the goal was to turn out soldiers. So the goal of this was to create extremely patriotic and loyal soldiers. And it actually looks very similar to how our school system is set up today. And this was a compulsory school system, which means you had to go to it. It was required. And there was a lot of state propaganda in this school system. Of course, it was Prussia. And like I said, extremely patriotic. They wanted soldiers that they could send to war and work for them, basically. That they wouldn't have to worry about them changing sides. So they would go through this whole indoctrination, this whole school system, to train these soldiers to be extremely patriotic and loyal soldiers. Now, in the 1840s, someone from the United States, his name was Horace Mann, he went over there and he saw that and he went, "Oh, that's kind of cool." And he literally brought that idea back to America and then basically started American schools off of that idea. So he saw that system, kind of looked at it and went, "I can copy that." And remember, this was about creating extremely patriotic and loyal soldiers. And basically said, I could copy that. And he brought it back over to America and started sharing this idea with extremely wealthy and influential people. John D. Rockefeller is probably the best name that you'll recognize. And what they came up with is that that system would work extremely well at actually producing workers as well, like employees. So there were some wealthy people in the nation that needed workers. Specifically workers that were slightly educated, maybe not like PhD level. They just needed some people that they could tell instructions to, read, write, and stuff like that. And so basically, I'm rambling here, but that's where this idea of the education, like public school system, came from. The idea was basically stolen from Prussia, where they were training these soldiers, and they were like, that looks like an extremely good system, but instead of training soldiers, let's train employees. And so we get that. And I actually started thinking about this, and I was like, is that where we get the Pledge of Allegiance from? Because I remember when I was in like elementary school, every morning we'd show up and we'd do the Pledge of Allegiance. And as an adult, I'm looking back on that and I'm going, those 10-year-olds have absolutely no idea what the Pledge of Allegiance is. It's actually almost cultish. They're literally pledging their allegiance, just like the soldiers did in Prussia, to a country. So it's like, I pledge allegiance to the flag. So there are big words in that like pledge that I don't think 10-year-olds, there's full-grown adults that I know that couldn't define some of these words. They don't know what they're saying. Allegiance, republic, liberty. Ask someone you know to say, hey, what does liberty mean? Most people can't even tell you what liberty means. What republic? What is a republic? What does allegiance mean? Can you spell allegiance? There's a lot of people out there that don't know what those words mean. And so I was thinking back to that, and I was like, we really did steal it from the Prussians where they were training soldiers, because there's really no other good reason to have the pledge other than if it was like just an ancient part of that Prussian system that we've kind of copied over because we wanted patriots. And so what's a better way to train a patriot than to have someone say a pledge to your country every morning, even if they don't know what the words mean. Eventually just repeating it will be helpful. But anyways, I just thought it was really interesting. I was thinking really deeply about my own son's education, and I've been doing research into like what would be the best form of education for him, because as you know, public school education nowadays isn't, people don't go, I'm so excited I went to public school. They don't really do that. So I've been looking into alternatives just to see what other things are out there, and I actually came up with a really interesting analogy. I'll share it before I end this video, but the idea is, ever since we've had this copy of the Prussian system, it's like we've had this this like horse-drawn carriage. And we're like, every year, experts, like, we're trying to make the American education system better. And we're looking at this horse-drawn carriage, and we're going, how can we make this better? So we get a psychologist to come in, and we get them to look at the wheel, and we're like, we can make this wheel better. And then we get someone else to come in and look at like the I don't know what it's called. It's like a cloth that goes like over the wagon wheel to keep you dry or whatever. And they're like, we can make this better, like another expert. And they're looking at parts of it and they're trying to make it better. And I think what we really need for like a better education system isn't to just improve horse-drawn carriage. I think we need an entirely different vehicle, kind of like a car. Like a car and a horse-drawn carriage do the same thing. They just do it differently, although one is better. And I think that's kind of like what the American education system is now. If you look at the private schools and you look at the stats of kids that go to private schools, again, I'm trying to keep this video short. Long story short, private schools are much better at the money that they receive at putting education into their kids, to where government-funded public education, that money gets spread thin and it doesn't really do much. So anyways, I was just making a video. Maybe future Theodore, maybe you found a solution to the public education system. But I just wanted to share a story. I learned things by like sharing stories. So I wanted to share a little story about how we actually got the public education system. I thought it was really interesting that we literally copied it from Prussia, that was trying to create patriotic, loyal soldiers. Anyways, just something to think about. I'll talk to you later.